Operations report. The Trump administration takes off for a trip to Asia while the government is still in shutdown. What and who are they really going to see? And is it really going to save governments? The new moon, which occurred on Tuesday, saw an artificial power shift which led them to question their reality. And the battle against the old guard, you know as the deep state or the world's elite, and the office of the guardian, that would be us, reached a pivotal moment this week as we fight to claim our planet back. This made for some turbulent energy this week, which may have affected you. Did you feel as if the whole world was in a tug of war this week? Well, you're right.
Tired before the day begins? NAD Plus levels drop 50% after 40. NAD Plus helps your cells bounce back fast. Most supplements give precursors. NAD Plus skips the breakdown, delivering direct, bioavailable power. Support your energy, metabolism, sleep, and stress levels at the cellular level. Join the NAD Plus revolution. Start your journey to a healthier you. Subscribe today.
Well, it's the 25th of October, 2025, and it's been one heck of a week, and I sincerely apologize for not getting a report out sooner. I've been trying to send little updates on Telegram, and I know that they've been sending them out to you as well, which are from me. It's been really insanely crazy. And we're going to talk a lot about what's happening behind the scenes, what's happening within the government, plural, government shutdowns. And it's, I have got to say, I'm sure this is going to end, and I hope it ends real soon because, this is ridiculous on what they're doing. I don't even know how they're still allowed to exist, honestly, at this point. And we've been working on that as well, on their non-existence. So a couple things. We know we are still in a government shutdown here in the U.S. And it appears they're looking for a magic number of days to have a shutdown. You see, because the original Trump was full of it and didn't tell anybody what happened the last time that there was a shutdown. Because what happened was, we were in a shutdown. I think it was some odd 30 days or so by the time, I made the phone call as they asked for, and they needed a budget paid. A significant amount of money, well over $1 trillion, needed to be paid out. And so there was a conversation that actually took place on a diplomatic line where I transferred that money out to Trump. Obviously through the White House terminal and over to the Treasury Department. And that ended the government shutdown just a couple of days later. That's actually what happened. Now, just because the administration is hiding that fact, that's actually the thing, and that's not the only thing, but all the money came out when Trump was there. He lied and said it was him doing it. And so they felt that if they put him back into office, that would happen again. The night of the election, they pounded on my door all night long to my system to try to get me to transfer money or see if this thing is on or it's working the night that he was selected. And quite frankly, I was not answering the phone for a bunch of Trump operatives at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, or any other time of day. That ship sailed and that ended a long time ago. So he's kind of falling flat on his face right now, as are the Trump operatives. Now, the Trump operatives have given it their best, honestly. They're all secret space program operatives. They know quite a bit about some kind of advanced technologies and that kind of thing. So much so they even put more technology over in Cortez, which is just about an hour's drive, 45 minutes from here, to ensure their success this week. which did not happen. They always got to prepare for their new moons, full moons, and otherwise, don't they? So needless to say, the theme of this week was a very strong push on our part and a very strong pull on their part to try to maintain some kind of relevance as far as the humans, not the Homo sapiens on this planet. The push and pull has created a lot of turbulence, not only in your world, meaning your energy levels up and down. You feel great one minute, like it's Christmas Day and you're a kid on Christmas morning, to the next few minutes and you feel like you're not sure if you're going to fall asleep or, your head's spinning or, it's kind of crazy what's been happening this week. And this is coming from all parts of the world and all kinds of Homo sapiens within our group that reach out to me, and I have also felt it here. So we're going to talk about the reason why all of these things are happening. But I mentioned this situation about Trump because there is a similar situation taking place now. There has been, which occurred, we'll start with Monday, there was a definitive power shift that took place on Monday. And by power shift, we're talking about proposed guardians and proposed human controllers and those types of things. We're not necessarily talking about the shift that's happening with Source when I mention a power shift here. The power shift that took place on Monday was a shift from the U.S. being in control and the alleged fake guardian Trump. You see, because Trump told everybody he is the guardian now of the humans. Not the Homo sapiens, but the humans. He is now in charge. He has all the power. And he's been telling them this for years. This is not new. This has been talked about for a long, long time. It's got nothing to do with the United States being the power center of the world. It just happens to be where, I wouldn't even say that bloodline originated from in the beginning. It actually originated from the Ukraine area and then onward through Germany and most of Europe. But as far as his particular origin, it's in the U.S., and so then the U.S. would have the power because the guardian is there. Many years ago, Bush Sr. held a similar position on behalf of the humans. And therefore, the U.S. had a lot of power then as well. At one point in time, even Prescott Bush had a lot of power and control. Well, that ship has sailed, and many, 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 many ships have sailed since that time. And the power shift that occurred on Monday occurred from the U.S. to China. You see, because they believe, for some crazy reason, that a human female over in China was to be the new guardian. I don't know if she did some ceremony and maybe she lit up like a rainbow and shot unicorns out of her eyeballs. I have no idea, but I can tell you they believe that this was the person. Although this person never got any access to any kind of financial support, there are things that occur when a new guardian is appointed. And because a lot of these things are pre-programmed, and there definitely was a lot of talk by Marduk back in the day of appointing China and doing a power shift over to China, which is long past due, they figured that this was the way to do it, to ensure that there was a power shift. Now, the place of residency of the person, human, of the human who is selected to be in that position is normally where a really large overlay would be. So that overlay existed over the United States for a long time. After that, the shift moved over to China just this week. So since that shift happened and this lady was about to do her ceremony, so to speak, last night, or on Saturday evening, China time, she was preparing, all day, something interesting happened. You see, they figured out that there is still a source-appointed guardian on this planet that guards the Homo sapiens. That is why there's been a push and a pull. They also know that there has been a push and a pull. And in the past, in order to make this shift happen, they would get the source-appointed guardian to tap out. And by tap out, that's a wrestling term, tap out, that would mean they would force the guardian to commit suicide, be it by making them sick, be it by making them crazy, and then eventually they commit suicide. One way or another, that is their aim. You see, they can't murder the guardian. There are devastating consequences to that. They know it. But they can push you to the brink so that you'll do it yourself. Now, yeah, it was a turbulent week. And quite frankly, once I figured out what they were doing, it became funny for me. I'm like, oh, frequencies are back. Oh, this is back. Oh, feels like, I can't form a coherent thought. Better fix that. So everything with Source is possible. If you're with Source and you're with a creator, that includes you, everything is possible. And it might not feel like it some days, but it is. So everything they tried to do to me, because Source has bound me to you for many reasons and for your protection. So anything they try to do to you, in a lot of ways, comes through me. And more now than ever. As far as this week and how you've been feeling and the wonky energies and if it could go wrong, it did go wrong, type of week, or, having moments of things are wonderful and things are great. And then all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, your whole world falls apart. That's what this week was all about. And it was the same for many, many people. 1 minute you feel like you're going to be sick, you get a headache, your head is spinning, you feel like you have ADHD and you didn't before, and all of these things. That was all created by the crazy humans that are with this Chinese woman and, with Trump, because now they're all together. So this continued on pretty much until today. It's been going on for that long. However, there was a big shift that happened last night as well. So this lady is, let's just say, you see, there are no rules against taking out a human anymore. Because there's no master over there anymore, and there's no covenant with Source to have human creations, meaning synthetically AI created beings that are walking this planet that call themselves the elite, the Illuminati, the dragon families, the Black Order of the Black Sun folks. There is no covenant on my end anymore. However, on their end, there absolutely is. You see, because if anything happened to me, that means that everything gets pulled out from underneath them immediately and there's nothing left. So They definitely worked real hard to push me to the limit based on a covenant that doesn't exist. Then again, they're also appointing a guardian based on a covenant that doesn't exist anymore either. So, they really don't pay much attention to change, and things, even though they're notified of those changes as well. They just continue on and on and on and on and on. So this lady, based on her efforts and all of the orders she gave out to other people over the last several days, expired abruptly yesterday, probably mid-afternoon my time. And upon her expiration, that it was a little bit, let's just say, noticeable that this was not an accident. And thus far, as of this moment, I do not believe they have convinced anyone else to try to take the spot. So how does this tie to Trump and all the things we just talked about? Well, we know we have an endless supply of fake humans, at least we used to, and the thing sitting in our White House is no exception. It doesn't even look the same as any of the other ones. I don't know, maybe they're having an AI Trump creation malfunction. They call it, in the alt media, they call it cloning. Well, they used to just be able to send in more clowns anytime they wanted to run their circus. Hopefully, anything that generated that circus went when we pulled the systems that were in Mongolia and the empires and the kingdoms associated with humans or artificial people. And we won't see much more of that. But the government shutdown was to trigger money to come. It was a last-ditch effort to see if they could make it to the 30-day time period or a backup, because that's the last time, that's how long it went, the last time before money actually started to come out. But I am not an ATM machine. I am also not an AI system, and I don't just spit out money because 30 days have happened in any way, shape, or form. So that is not going to work for the U.S. It's also a last-ditch effort for whatever's running the Trump thing these days to get some free money into the government and hopefully hold on to that human guardian position. Everybody wants to, there's a big fight going on amongst the humans as to who is going to take that position. And it's basically like being the CEO of Enron. But as long as there is a source guardian here on this planet, they absolutely cannot appoint a new guardian of their own. Not only that, the guardianship does not belong to the humans anymore. To the AI-generated elite of this planet, it does not belong to them anymore. And the only way they can take it is if I give it to them. And that is never, ever, ever going to happen. This was something that also occurred in the past that they are aware of, that they basically convinced someone to concede. And that's not going to happen on this side of it. So Trump makes a big trip to Asia because he has now figured out that, this probably isn't going to work. Everything they've been trying to do, or whatever those operatives are trying to do, secret space program folk, it's probably not going to work. So apparently this is the new guardian, and they just have to accept it, and they're going to go attend the ceremony. Also in attendance of the ceremony would be elite from Russia. The reason why is because these three countries were selected by Marduk, with China at the helm, to be the three leaders of the world and to create a multipolar world because the Homo sapiens were not accepting it. They were not accepting a single power center of the world anymore, and they wanted all three. That's what Marduk said. To take kind of the main helm would be China, and then you would have the other two. So this is part of the reason why Putin and Trump have been going to places like the Diomedes Islands together, making agreements and covenants with one another, to rule the planet in all the ways that a fake AI generated clone should rule the planet. And this is why all of this has been occurring. But now in walks this female that is no longer with us and attempts to, I guess, take the top spot. Now, given the fact that no one on this side has conceded, and their only hope, if they did try to do anything to me, would be basically to wait another couple thousand years, and there would still be no guardian on their side, because there is no covenant that controls an AI that says that's how it's going to be. We are never, and I don't believe Source is ever going to agree with any one of those other celestials that are also no longer with us, so it's very hard to agree to something when there's no one there, and make a covenant with a being that is no longer in existence, to renew any kind of human guardianship on this planet on behalf of Abraxas or anyone else, that are humans on the other side, human royalty. So this has caused you personally disturbances in your worlds. So maybe not you personally, because you're a little bit more aware of it, but it's definitely felt extremely turbulent for everyone, because we, as Homo sapiens walking this planet of organic origin, were bound to the humans as our guardian. This is what allowed them to create all of the overlays, do all of the things that they did to us, because they were our guardian. You could call them the slave master of the slave farm, because they think that they're very special. And I guess you could say they were, compared to the rest of us, because we had been tortured so badly. But for thousands of years, this has been the case. Well, as of this week, that is no longer the case. And they're finding that out very, very quickly. So they've been looking for some alternatives. They're trying to find anyone else that could possibly sign this over, because they certainly know I'm not going to. And I am not in any way, shape, or form interested in supporting governments or any organization that is in the human downline at all. We will not be supporting any organization that continues to be in that downline, unless they decide to concede to this office, to the office of the guardian, and underneath our rules for how things are going to go for the Homo sapiens on this planet from here on out, then we're not interested in talking to anybody. You can take your banks, you can take everybody. We don't care. The banks are stable. They may not feel stable to them, because there are things that they cannot see. There are things that you can see, but things that they cannot see that are happening behind the scenes, and have been for a long time. We are doing our job, and that goes for a lot of you that are helping as well. We are doing our job to eliminate anything from harming us or the creations of Source. That's our job. As Homo sapiens, believe it or not, in the book it says the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, we are far from meek when we are in our original form. We, as I have said before, are a former shell of ourselves. But that doesn't mean that our soul is not strong and our connection to Source is not strong. That doesn't mean that. So please don't take it that way. We are just as strong as we always were. We just have to remember. And we have to have no interference. So they know this too. The humans and the deep state and the elites, they know this too. And so they've been fighting tooth and nail with access points that were only for Marduk at one point. And this has a lot to do with something we call halls. Now, you've heard me speak about the Hall of Records in the past, and you've heard me speak, I think I might have mentioned to you about the Halls of Science and Medicine in the past. But there are many, many halls, and a lot of them we have gotten rid of in the past, but there are still many more that still existed. And there are halls of power, as an example. There were halls created for the benefit of the human guardian, of the Homo sapiens in the past. And what do halls do? So understanding that there are spaces in between the planes of existence and even subsections and sections of planes of existence and densities and universes that have halls. And through the halls runs current. And that current is an alternating current. It can go in either direction. However, mostly halls have been used to our demise. This is where your frequencies come from. This is where your disease comes from. This is where you are manipulated to the point where you're drained of your energy. This also can control the current of people around you. So even if you're not susceptible to it, it can also make people you love crazy or think differently than they did about you before. Disruptions in traffic cause accidents. People that would appear to be drunk driving aren't actually drunk driving. They're being affected by these currents in these halls. So they have controlled the Homo sapiens on this planet, not only in this planet, but also throughout the entire galaxy for a long, long time using current manipulation. It was the most powerful form of manipulation that they actually had on their side. We have spent all week tearing down any remaining halls we can find, and a lot of those halls were what they were using to affect me too. It was exhausting this week, really. But the halls, the reason why they were using these halls incessantly this week was not only to get me to tap out or concede, they were also using them to try to utilize the skills of creation that I have, because as of this week, Source is able to create through me, as long as I consent to do that, which of course, I'll be an anchor. That's great. I don't even have to do anything anymore. I mean, I do, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of work that took place on my part this week, but what I mean is he can now use me whenever he needs to use me. I'm hands and feet to run, and he can create through me here until everything is cleared out on the rest of the planet, and all of what existed on the other side is not needed anymore. It's like Source alchemy of creation at its greatest point. It's an interesting experience, though, for me. Kind of see things in a different way. And it is a cooperative effort. As all these things have to have my permission, so to speak. But it's been an interesting experience this week from that aspect. And it feels great. And you're so happy. And then all of a sudden the current changes. And, now those things are being distorted and utilized, in a negative way. So they have been fighting real hard on the ones that are in the know to block the creation of Source in any way they possibly can. Now, of course, on the other front, no one within the Chinese area there has told anyone that this woman is dead. So you've got all the rest of the humans mulling over into Asia, not only for this special occasion that was supposed to occur last night. As far as I know, they've been told that it's going to be pushed off until the 28th, possibly Halloween or the 30th or whatever day they're going to do it now. But in reality, they don't have anyone else. So they're looking for somebody else. That's what's really happening. Well, they all gather over there, and yeah, well, everybody will be waiting a really, really long time for that to occur, and they will also be playing the tomorrow game. But it's good for your enemy to go have something to focus on. Maybe it'll be another Chinese lady, maybe a man. I don't know. Maybe they'll sacrifice another red cow, the red heifer cow, and see if that helps them any. I have no idea what they're going to do. They do a lot of pretty crazy ceremonies, not only in China, but elsewhere, in order to try to achieve their objective. Maybe they just feel that they need to give it more time to push me. And it's still not going to happen. You see, they don't understand anything the AI program running in their head doesn't tell them. And if the AI program doesn't understand, then they're certainly not going to understand. And this also goes for the Trump operatives. All the secret space program ACIO military operatives also are talking to an AI in their head. Is the AI smarter than the average Homo sapien? Well, you could say in our current form, as we have been, possibly. I would say that it had access to the past, present, and future and a lot of information. But does it understand change? Absolutely not. It's on a pre-programmed primordial directive, and it will take all the beings that it's connected to with it. So the push and pull of this week really was kind of like parents going through a divorce, except we were never parents and we were never married, and we certainly didn't go create the Homo sapien together, that's for sure. But you have the guardian on their side that would like to reclaim their connection to you and ownership over you, and you have Source on the other hand, and the guardian on this side, who's saying, no, we're going to help these people. We're going to fix these people. We're going to put them back to their former glory. And this is what Source wants. And then we all collectively as a group become the guardian of Earth. That is the way it's supposed to be. Eventually, we have a lot of growing up to do between now and then. And everybody's at some varying stage of that. And obviously you probably go to the grocery store, you probably drive your car, and you could probably see what would happen if all those people honking and beeping at you in rush hour traffic were also guardians of Earth. So it'll take some time, but we will get there as a species once again, where we were and always have been. As far as these people are concerned, they can pull and tug all they want, but you're not going to fight the source of creation. And, in all honesty, without Source, even their AIs don't exist. They don't exist. They would have never come into creation. The celestial that created them would also not exist if Source didn't want them to exist. Times are changing. Source only kept his covenant with that celestial. That was it. Which also expired. Therefore, destroying artificial creation is not a violation anymore. Changing the way wisdom works is not a violation anymore. Source held up his end of the bargain, and the covenant continued until it did not anymore. So these people can do all the ceremonies they want, send all the frequencies they want, but we will find the current in which hall it's coming from, and perhaps we can turn it against you. This lady appeared to be torn to shreds over there. The reason why she appeared to be torn to shreds like that is because you can do an awful lot with frequencies, weapons, an awful lot. It's like a partial demolecularization, if you will. So on that note, the next major event we're expecting is going to occur sometime around the 28th, I was told. Hopefully, this is going to be the turning point that we should have had should this crazy incident not have occurred. Have they delayed source? I would say no. Is there a lot that has come to light this week that we are learning on how all of this took place and how we got here before we officially take the reins? Absolutely. There has been definitely a lot that we have learned during the last several days, myself included. There's always a right time to learn the information and a right time to say that information, which in part is the reason why we didn't do a lot of reports or do any reports this week until today. You have to ensure you're not helping your enemy in any way, shape, or form. So on that note, this has been an abbreviated version of the week and the report for the 25th of October, 2025. And I look forward to speaking to you next week. Hopefully we will see some momentous changes other than what's already taken place this week. So we're looking forward to that. And I will see you then.